Welcome everyone. This is the second stream of FantasyLabrats, where we'll be discussing fantasy football today. It's Fantasy Sunday today too. We decided to do a stream before the games start. This is where we're going to talk about any last minute updates. We'll sort of Yesterday we did all the 1 p.m. game analysis. We're trying to finish out the rest of the games today. We'll also talk about again FanDuel values, and then we'll answer any questions if we get any about any last minute fantasy lineup changes and advice. So we'll go ahead and get started. Before all that, any quick injury updates that you guys want to talk about? Oh, sorry, I need to introduce ourselves. I am Nani. I am joined by Square and Oven Mints. And do you guys have any injury updates for today? Hello?
Yes.
Do you guys have any injury updates?
Okay,
Oh,
so there is one scary one for me. If you watched the last video, I was all over Julio, and then just today, even though it was during the week, he pulled his hamstring or tweaked his hamstring. They're just now giving us this information today. So like the 20 lineups I had with him, I had to like go in and like switch him to Odell Beckham. Some of them. I'm still rolling with him in about half of them. And then I was able to upgrade my defense. In some places, I was using the Jaguars, and I was able to upgrade there to I think it was the Bengals. I upgraded to the Bengals, so you get a little bit of extra cash there.
nice. So another injury report. Alshon Jeffrey was probable for the last week. He practiced a couple times, but then he stopped practicing, which is even worse than before. So I think he's been confirmed to be out. So you should take him out if he's in your lineup.
That is also an upgrade for the Chiefs defense, I would say. Another injury update is Martavis Bryant, who everyone really wanted to come back and make a big boom and help some fantasy lineups. He's out for the game. Apparently, he had a setback in practice and he will not be playing today. So make sure you get him out of your lineups.
And I actually think that that makes a big difference for Le'Veon Bell's value. I think when there's a deep threat, people are less inclined to stack the box on you. And without Martavis Bryant, it's literally just Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown if they can even get him the ball. So that for me puts Jamal Charles above Le'Veon Bell.
What about Hayward Bay and Marcus Wheaton? All
Hayward
right.
Bay just has a cool name. Um, he,
And Wheaton sounds like a cereal.
yeah. So
So
great
that's how we
argument.
do.
But we'll get to that game, right?
Um, who else? Anyone else out? Stevie Johnson's ruled out. I think that affects Antonio Gates. I think Antonio Gates comes back and just fills into that role of being more of a slot receiver. So
And then I think there's another interesting one that maybe is worth like a flyer in a tournament, and it's that Julius Thomas is actually playing after being
he's
ruled.
playing.
He's actually playing, yeah. He was ruled out in one update, and then probably 5 minutes later, it was ruled that he's starting, and it's a good game to start against the Tampa Bay defense. Um, they're not they're not bad against the pass, but I think that's just because people go to town on them on the ground. They could look for him maybe in the end zone.
All right.
You might be
Any
popping up
other
big.
notables?
No. Well, Watkins is out,
Fred
Watkins is
Jack-
out.
yeah.
That's a good
but
one.
we already pretty much knew that.
Fred
Um,
Jackson's still questionable. That's like
No, Fred Jackson's starting.
he's starting.
Fred Jackson's not starting. He's playing, and I actually think I would. I don't know. Did we go over that game yesterday?
We did not. Oh,
We-
we did.
We did go
Seattle
over it.
versus Bengals. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you're playing roles, I think we would actually rather play Fred Jackson. Just there's more potential there.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with our analysis of the games. First, we're going to talk about Arizona at Detroit. Arizona 3-1 versus Detroit 0-4. Detroit is given 2.5 points, and the public is on Arizona at 65%. Do you guys see this being a high-scoring game, low-scoring game? How do you guys see this playing out? What kind of game script do you guys see happening?
So I personally see this as an all Arizona game. I think it's going to be a 20-point differential kind of game between Arizona and Detroit Lions. So Arizona has played New Orleans, Chicago, and San Francisco, which I consider are bad defenses, and Detroit's I could still consider as a bad defense this year. And against those defenses, Arizona has scored 40, about averaging 40 against them. and only against the Rams, which is a good defense, have they scored 20. So I see Arizona scoring around 40, high 35s. And I see Detroit, whose offense is kind of crumbling, and all the players are not in tune with each other. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game on their end. So I think it's going to be a big differential. If you have, so in terms of game flow, I think there's going to be a lot of running toward the end. So I like Chris Johnson in this situation. And I think Fitz is also going to be a good own.
Okay, so in terms of the betting line, it's 2.5, as Non said, and it hasn't moved despite large public support, which makes me think that smart people are betting the Lions. So that scares me a little bit, and it makes me not want to roster some of them as often as I would normally. Obviously, you're still rostering Larry Fitzgerald. He's been catching a lot. One important stat with respect to your run game comment, the Lions have not allowed a 100-yard rusher in home games for 15 straight games. So it scares me away from the run game, and you have to add in the fact that Andre Ellington's back.
Yep.
David Johnson hasn't looked bad. The coach didn't like him last week and said that he was like definitely third string, but when he's looked so good to this point in the season, it's really hard to believe that. So it's a three-back committee, and the Lions aren't really allowing a high-yard rusher. Last week we saw them pretty much demolish Rawls. So I'm probably staying away from the Arizona run game.
Yeah, demolished Rawls says a lot, though.
He did. The week before that, Rawls was able to get 100 yards in only part of the game. So he's not incapable of doing that, and he was in that game. He just looked like a peasant.
Yeah, I'm also fading the running back situation in this game. In terms of Arizona, I think there's too many running backs to feed. There's 3 of them. Bruce Arians usually is pretty true to his word when he says that he wants to stick with a certain player. He says he wants to stick with Chris Johnson, who we will probably see that. He also says that he wants to implement some more of Andre Ellington back into the game. And then David Johnson is always just going to come in, get those passing downs, and then run a little bit as well. So there's just way too many mouths to feed on that team in terms of running backs. Really scares me away from really playing them in any dailies. I think an interesting play that I sort of like is I like Amir Abdullah. I'm still sort of riding the hype on him still, like quietly riding the hype, even though everyone's bashing on the Detroit running game. To me, Todd Gurley sort of showed that there was a little bit of running room in Arizona against the Arizona defense. So this could be a game where Abdullah has some significance in terms of playing, but I would stay away from him in a cash game. But in tourney plays, it's someone that I could potentially put in to some of my lineups.
So for this game, the guy that I'm really looking at is John Brown. He's been given the opportunity several times to catch deep passes. He's getting targets even on shallow passes, and he's like obviously their deep threat, and it hasn't happened yet, and people have just been waiting for it. So the Cardinals have the most attempts downfield at 20 plus and 40 plus yards. The Lions are in the back of the league and allowing passes of that depth. So I think if there's a game that John Brown's gonna finally shine, this is it. And I actually am comfortable with him in tournaments and cash play. And I'm playing against you in the standard league, and I'm using him. So watch out.
Shots fired.
How do you guys feel about Michael Floyd? Is there any potential in that guy?
No, he's just gonna vulture.
Yeah. It's hard to play him in any tournament or cash play games.
I pulled this at yesterday and I lost it now. But in one of their previous meetings against each other, Michael Floyd was able to get a 2-touchdown game against them. Does that make you guys feel like he'll get some play today, at least? I mean, he's been getting
Michael Floyd of the past.
He's been getting red zone targets though, even in these previous games. So you can't just rule them all together, can you?
Can you ignore him? No, when you're considering playing other guys. Can you put him in your lineup given his, one, fragility, he breaks all the time. He gets injured in the middle of games. And 2, it's just inconsistency. You don't know if he's going to be targeted, whereas the other 2 guys, Fitz and Brown, are actually getting targets every game.
So John Brown actually did not. Oh, actually, that was out. So I think
There's
John.
another Brown on the team.
Yeah,
Don't-
that news was weird. But I like John Brown better than Floyd in terms of play. I like Fitz and John Brown way better than Floyd. They're just higher up. They get targets. Fitz is consistent. He gets about 10 receptions, more targets than that per game, consistently in all 4 games. So, but Fitz is also just a high-owned player. I think he's like at 20%. So for tournament play, John Brown would be a better pick. For cash games, Fitz might be okay, but both are good. They're just both over Floyd. Floyd hasn't been. Might I think Ryan was spot on when he said he's just a vulture. He might get a touchdown. He won't get the yards, and just not enough fantasy points to be relevant.
So then it seems like you guys are pretty high on Arizona to get some play. Are you guys then automatically putting in Carson Palmer into your lineups? Do some combos here.
No, like I said, I'm scared of the line movement, the lack of line movement given the public support. So I'm not going all in. I'm not putting my quarterback, who's supposed to, anchor my team. I'm not putting it there. And I actually think a contrarian play in tournaments is the Lions' defense, because no one is going to have them, and it's possible that they look as good this week as they did last week against Seattle.
Pretty bold. Pretty bold, I would say, to play that defense, but
So
there's
I'm
some
bold.
hope.
I'm a bold man.
I have
Even though my name's Oven Mitts, and that doesn't sound bold at all.
All right, so
safe when it comes to holding hot pants.
Yeah.
so on to the next game. New England at Dallas. New England is 3-0 against Dallas at 2-2. New England are -8.5 away. So, what are you guys feeling? Are you
It's
guys
actually -10 now.
Oh, it's -10
Better
now.
move.
It's -10 now, yeah.
So does this make you guys want to just go all in Pats? Just throw every Pats possible into your lineups?
I'm always all in Pats. That's me. So
Yeah, Square is a huge Patriots
I'm
fan.
a huge Patriots fan, and I think this year especially, just rightly so. Like all the big names have been fantasy worthy. Brady's been solid. Deion Lewis and Blunt, good. Gronk, good. Edelman, good.
Gronk good.
Yeah, like there's no other way to
Sound like
say
a
it. They're
caveman.
just good.
Gronk is good.
Gronk's good.
Yeah.
So to rephrase, would you be willing to put all? Because FanDuel only allows 4 players to be put into a lineup from a single team. Is this somewhere where you jump in and use all 4 slots for the Pats?
I personally don't like this particular game as much as I did previously, like against the Jags. I actually called the 50-10 line, and I played all of them, but I just didn't play Blunt.
Or Amendola.
Or Amendola. So the touchdowns went to different places, but I like that game in terms of the point spread. This game, I don't think it's going to be a huge blowout. But I think they'll. So I wouldn't put in the four player. I put in the kicker because I think that might be an interesting play. And I don't actually. So I had
No kicker is ever an interesting play.
It's an interesting play this year. 27 point, I believe it. But I actually had Gronk in my lineup until this morning. I thought about it again, and I think Dallas is gonna be strong against the defense in Gronk, especially because they have someone that plays kind of like him, Wheaton, on their practice squad. But I mean, despite this, Gronk is still going to be solid. 15 points. He might not have a blow-up game, but I want a blow-up game in another tight end, so I took him out. And I also wanted to play Brady, but it's just too strong of a public play, so I took him out as well. But despite this, in terms of the betting, I think they're going to cover. I think it was -10, right?
Yes.
I think they're going to cover. And I like one of the running backs. I just haven't decided which one in my Daily Fantasy League.
Yeah, so for me in this game, I think that the betting line, the spot is actually incredibly scary. You're betting on a road team. The home team's getting 10. And everybody and their brother is calling a blowout. And when that happens, it just makes me want to bet the other team and play all the other players. But unfortunately, there are no other players. There's nobody on Dallas that's worth really rostering. I thought for a while there that Dunbar's production from the last few weeks would be taken up by Cole Beasley. So I had Cole Beasley as like my sleeper pick, right? And I always do, and he always burns me. But it came out that Darren McFadden's actually going to be taking that role, and it makes him a little bit more appealing to me because if we do think that the Patriots are going to be behind and Whedon is at quarterback, there are going to be a lot of checkdowns to running backs. So I think McFadden's actually not a terrible play. And we saw last week McFadden was not only being the third down back, he was stealing all of Randall's carries. The coach is just mad at Randall for the way he plays sometimes, and in that particular case he had reached over the goal line after they told him don't reach over the goal line. He got the touchdown, but they were still just mad at the action. So I like McFadden. On the other side of the ball, obviously we all like Gronk. He's expensive, so it's hard to build a lineup with him. So I think it's a better approach would be to take Edelman, being that the slot corner for the Cowboys is actually the worst in the league. I believe he's allowed over 100 yards in like 3 different games, and they throw to Edelman like 10 times a game. So in a PPR format, you're already guaranteed the 5 catches plus whatever yards. He may not get into the end zone just because they have other threats for that, but his floor is incredibly high. So I like him in cash games. For the running backs, I think Dion Lewis, his name's Dion Lewis, right?
Yeah.
I think Dion Lewis is probably the safer play. They just gave him a contract in the middle of the year, which rarely happens, and that means they're committing to this guy. So when he didn't have a contract, it was like, all right, well, we're paying Blunt, let's get Blunt in here. But if they're committing to the guy in the middle of the season, and he's getting 80% of the snaps when the game's close, I want that guy.
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier that you wouldn't build a team around Gronk. I'm actually building a couple teams around Gronk. I think that for his position, relative to the other tight ends at that position, he offers a very high floor relative to all the other tight ends. Pretty big differential. So I think that's worth the play to pay the extra amount. He's worth, what is he worth? Like 8 something.
84.
He's worth 8,400. Whereas other tight ends, you're looking at 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. Right, but I do think that's worth the extra price. If you had to put a percentage, what is the chance that Gronk is the first tight end this week in terms of scoring? I would say it's a pretty high percentage, more than 50%. So it's worth it to me to pay that price for him. So that's someone that I'm gonna be building around.
I'm not saying don't build a lineup with Gronk.
Yeah.
50% of my lineups were with Gronk, and the other 50 were without Gronk, and that's how I defined my teams.
Yeah. Also another note was that another player if you wanted to play on Dallas, I'm looking a little bit at Terrence Williams. Last game he had 10 targets. The game before that he had barely any targets. But he did have 5 red zone targets last game, and that to me is promising in the sense that there's opportunity here. He's gonna get the looks. If they're gonna be down by a lot, they're gonna have to start throwing deep. This is the guy you want, right? Or no?
Yeah, I like T-Will here. I just don't like Whedon. I just don't trust him to throw him the ball in the right situations. And Dallas with Whedon has been not great offensively. And this is because they're quite conservative with their plays. They've been running a lot more with Whedon in. So I like this reason to play DMF, Darren McFadden in this situation. But it does not make me want to like T-Will more. I think he might get the opportunities, but I think it's a risky play.
I think he's right. It's strictly a tournament play.
Yeah.
You mentioned he had 5 or 6 red zone targets last week. Those were all on.
He caught one.
He caught one, and all the attempts to catch the ball looked terrible. Like, not even trying to go for the ball, trying to flop LeBron style to get the penalty, and he wasn't drawing it. So
no.
I don't think he's hard to guard, and I don't think he's hard to game plan for. So even for me in tournaments, I'm not playing him. I'll just take the risk of getting burned by a couple long bombs. The 30% chance that he catches one of those in this game. I'm not feeling it. If I'm playing anybody on the team, it's Darren McFadden and no one else.
Agreed.
So on to the next one. Denver at Oakland. Denver is 4-0, and Oakland is 2-2, and Denver is -4.5 away. So you guys liking Denver here? You guys in terms of fantasy? I mean, Oakland's been pretty good offensively lately, and they're starting to gain more relevance in terms of fantasy. But against Denver defense, I'm a little bit more cautious playing those players. What do you guys think?
This is just in Taliaferro is out, which makes Forsett his value go extremely high. Yeah, he gets all the red zone carries now, so I like him more than I did before. The only downfall to me was that Taliaferro was going to steal his red zone carries, and now he's not. So just throwing that out there. Okay, so the game we're talking about, remind me again.
Denver, Oakland.
Denver, Oakland. Okay, so for Oakland side of the ball, you're playing nobody, right? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah.
Okay, the defense is too good, which means you play the defense. The defense has been over 10 points in, I think, every game.
Denver defense.
The Denver defense, right? The Denver defense.
Highly public. It's like 25% owned.
You sure you don't mean the Oakland defense? You sure?
I'm positive. So as far as the receivers go, I'm probably not touching Demaryius Thomas. I know he's Peyton's favorite target and all that, but he was injured halfway through the week. The problem with, I think, the Denver receivers is that they're priced as such as though Peyton is actually what Peyton was, not what Peyton is. So I think if you're going to pay up, you have to have a good reason, and I think that you have that reason with Emmanuel Sanders, given that he's taking up the middle. He's going to be catching the ball in the middle of the field where the tight ends normally are catching the ball against the Raiders. So he's going to get all the love that the tight ends have been getting, so there's an opening there. Whereas Demaryius, he costs too much for the potential reward that I would be getting. So if I'm playing anybody on that side of the ball, it's Emmanuel Sanders. And also I would play Peyton. I think it's actually a contrarian play to play Peyton. Who thought we would be saying that at the start of the year? He's averaging in his career versus Oakland over 320 yards a game. And this year Oakland is allowing 330 yards passing per game. So, I think Peyton's good, and I think Emmanuel's good. Maybe even a stack is viable. I'm not touching the running backs.
The Denver running backs, Hillman, Anderson?
Well, no, Rance. I'm not touching any running back in this game.
Yeah, I'm agreed. In terms of fantasy or daily DFS play, it's tough to pick anyone on these teams. So I have no notables, actually.
I think the Denver running game, those two running backs against Oakland, if you guys are going to assume that they'll probably be ahead most of the game, the running situation is sort of like a 50-50, right? I think if you can choose correctly, I think you'll reap the benefits. But until that point, it's so hard to choose the right running back, right? Like in my lineups, I am trying to put in either of those running backs, but I keep on flip-flopping because I can't decide who's going to get the more play. But I do think there's some reward there. I think there's a lot to get from that spot. No? You guys don't think it's worth the risk?
I don't know. Like, I feel like Denver passing game is the focus most of the time, and Denver running backs have a history of just not getting enough points, fantasy points wise. I think Hillman and Anderson, one of them might have a good game. I think like comparing them to all the other running backs that are available, it's just not worth it for me to play those players in DFS league and take a chance like that. It's just not there's not enough good reason to play one or the other. So I rather just choose Forsett, who's not that different in terms of pricing than Hillman. So there are just too many other options that I'd rather go with this particular week. But I think in the future, one of them might shine. Like you're saying, like Hillman has looked better than Anderson, but who knows? Like it's a Denver running back situation, I think.
But they're so cheap. They're
Yeah.
6,600,
Yeah.
and one of them can give you a ton of value.
Uh,
I don't
I'd
know.
rather have Yeldon for the same price.
yeah.
Yeldon's pretty good.
I'd rather even have Doug Martin.
I'd rather Doug Martin as well.
Ah,
I was actually thinking about it. I'm going a little bit flip-floppy. I kind of like Doug Martin this week because if
Lucky.
they're the home favorite, what are they? I mean, they can't let Winston throw. We've seen he can't throw. He's throwing picks. I mean, he can throw, but he throws picks. So to keep the ball out of his hands, why not? Use the muscle hamster. I'm liking him. I'm not playing him, but I'm liking him.
Yeah. So there's just many other options in terms of Hillman,
well,
Anderson.
I will be throwing a dart at one of these two and hope for the best.
Good luck,
Yeah.
sir.
Good luck.
I have an interesting fact about this game. So we talked about coaching drama and
Ooh.
revenge. So I looked up a little bit. So Del Rio, who's the head coach of Oakland, used to be the Broncos defensive coordinator.
I remember that.
And there was not there was some rift when he left. Like he wasn't like extremely vocally unhappy, but he wasn't happy about his situation there when he was there. So I thought that was interesting.
That's all it is, though. I think is interesting because when your team is just the worst team, thinking about like the revenge angle, like how is the head coach going to screw over the Denver defense? He's going to do whatever he would have done otherwise.
Exactly. So I thought that was interesting. I just wanted to add on.
What about the Raiders tight end logic that everyone now has caught on to? Do you guys throw in Owen Daniels and just reap the benefits of the Raiders tight end logic?
Yeah.
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 I mean, Barnage did it. Come on. Let's go.
If Barnage did it.
But what if it's
anybody
the
could
other
do it.
tight end? What if it's not Ladarius?
Virgil.
Green.
I'm a Virgil believer. I actually think Virgil's good, but he doesn't get the targets, so you can't play him. If Owen Daniels was injured, I would own Virgil Green. I think he's a better player. But the coach has a man crush on Owen Daniels. They've followed each other from team to team to team. This is the third team they're together on.
Yeah.
So Owen Daniels isn't going nowhere, which means that my love for Virgil Green is going to have to lie dormant.
Like Garoppolo love.
I have Garoppolo love. We're never going to see Garoppolo. I also love Flacco, but he's not been impressive this year.
So Owen Daniels, tourney play?
Yeah. Why not?
No.
If you want to focus on other positions, why not?
Yeah, that's the only reason is to craft a better lineup. A lot of people's logic this week has been you either have Gronk or you have Owen Daniels. And I think the emergence of some guys is like Derek Carrier have made it so that you don't necessarily have to go all in on Owen Daniels, but he's a good option. I mean, anybody facing Oakland any day can get 2 touchdowns as a tight end. But for me, I'd rather, for the same reason, roster Emmanuel Sanders. I did look up a stat, though, and it is very clear that the opponents are targeting their tight ends like almost double to triple the amount of times than when they play other teams.
Yeah.
Like if you look like the league average for amount of catches for a tight end is something like 10 or 11 total. And versus the Raiders, it's like 35. They're just going ham, throwing to the tight end. So people are exploiting. And if anybody's going to exploit it, it's Peyton.
Yeah. Just a note, we were talking about Gronkowski earlier. He was 8,400. The difference between him and Owen Daniels is only 4,900. So you're saving about 3K, which is almost another player.
3,500. Yeah. It's a ridiculous amount.
So our next game we'll be talking about is San Francisco at New York against the Giants.
Yeah, no, another
the Giants
irrelevant
are
game.
-6.5, and this is a Sunday night game, so we all get to watch it and all get to see this game in its full glory.
Yeah.
So
I actually put in my notes, like, I want this to be a San Francisco bounce back game. Do I believe it? Like, I'm not sure, but I want it so bad for them. I don't particularly like Kaepernick, but I like the organization as a whole. I think they changed a lot of the offensive key players, right? This year they lost Crabtree and some other player. But
they gained Torrey Smith.
They gained Torrey Smith, and I think he's getting a little more play. But this particular game, the only San Francisco player that I might play in tournament play is Carlos Hyde. I think he's due for a bounce back. He looked good in the first 2 games, and I think he's due for a bounce back. And Giants are not the greatest against the run. I've said this week in, week out. So I think I might play Carlos Hyde. That's all it is for San Francisco right now for me. That's my only notable.
This is also just in. Eddie Royal is out.
Chiefs defense gets another bump.
Chiefs defense gets another bump. Basically, they're relying on Forte hard and probably Marquise Wilson.
That also gives
And Martellus
Bennett gets a bump too.
There you go.
Yep. Bennett looks really good. He'll get a ton of targets in this game.
Are there any light movements in this game?
Chiefs have been. The Chiefs are getting more and more favorite. It's 10 now. It was 9. I think it opened at.
It opened at 10. It's minus 9.5 now.
Oh, it's gone down.
Not too much line movement.
Yeah. So as far as the Giants and the San Francisco game, I'm also with Square in that I wish that the 49ers would look good. I think a nice contrarian play in this game is Colin Kaepernick because everybody in their brother is either on the Denver Broncos or the Giants at defense, which means inherently that no one is on any 49ers. So if you're on the 49ers, you're contrarian. You're taking a risk, and I think no one else is taking it. And Kaepernick is one of those guys who, yes, he can throw 2 pick sixes within a short period of time, but he can also run a 80-yard touchdown and look like a gazelle doing it. So I think he's a nice little fit in there. I also think that for I said this earlier, but Julio Jones getting hurt, you can minimize the risk of having him in your lineup by replacing him with Odell Beckham. I personally think that a good sleeper play is Andre Williams, because if the Giants get ahead, they are going to be setting their passing down backs, Rashad Jennings and Shane Vereen, and he's going to get the goal line carries even in a close game. So he's a cheap option, could get a touchdown. I like him.
Yeah. I will throw out this fact. Does this change your thinking about the New York Giants defense at all in terms of rushing, Square?
Yep.
Is that they are allowing the least rushing yards in the NFL. Like, they are leading the league in allowing the least rushing yards. Does that
Nope.
scare you?
Nope.
Scare me in terms of what? We're all on the
No,
Giants.
he wants to play
Yeah.
Carlos Hyde. He wants to play
I want to
Carlos
play
Hyde.
Carlos Hyde.
Oh, you want to play Carlos Hyde?
Yeah.
That's an important detail here.
Yeah. Nope. I'm sticking with it. They give. Yep. I'm sticking with it. There's no other way to say
I thought
it.
a stat was coming.
There's a stat. It's not a great one, but I believe in Carlos Hyde's ability more than I care about New York Giants defense.
And where's it been the last 3 games?
I know. It's coming.
He looked good week 1, and since then he's been pleb. And if we're to think that they're going to be behind, they're not going to be using the guy. So if you're taking Hyde, you might as well take Kaepernick while you're at it, even though it's not a correlated play.
Nope.
It means you're banking on the 49ers. You're the one person in America that's like, I think the 49ers are going to win this game.
And only one person in America wins the Millionaire League.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm staying away from the Niners. As
Yep.
much as you guys want them to win, I have no faith. I've lost faith. I've jumped ship from that sinking ship.
Yeah, I also think this is the last year that we see Colin Kaepernick in
Yeah.
the Madden commercials.
Looks like he's on drugs now.
Well, I know you guys are like trying to play devil's advocate in terms of this game, but do you guys think the Giants' defense are worth a look here? Or do you guys
Yeah.
yeah.
They're cheap.
Yep.
They're cheap in comparison to the other options. So, for me, it's either Jaguars or Denver. But in a nice middle ground is the Giants.
Yeah, I believe they were like 4,300, one of the lower, if not like the third lowest option. So
And it's like every time Kaepernick lines up and cocks back to throw, everyone holds their breath and looks for an interception. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's worth the play. Their defense is worth the play. Kaepernick has a lot of interceptions this year, and he's not.
He's going to be forced to throw because the Giants are good against the run.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
New York Giants actually have a lot of picks this year. I think they're one of the highest teams with the most interceptions this year.
Yeah, there's
So,
also a lot of I have Kaepernick in a standard league, and somewhat see the news about him every week where they're talking about possibly benching him, and it's very heartbreaking to the point now where I'm just like, you know what, I don't want to deal with you anymore. And it's just, how can you play a player that's, on the verge of losing his spot, even though he's making claims that he's not even scared of losing his spot? So I don't like the situation. I'm just gonna stay away from it. No, not
he's
for me.
not playing for job security, bro.
No.
He's playing to win.
Um. All right. Oh, in terms of Odell, you like Odell, and you were saying you change your lineups to put Odell in. Uh, do you stack him with Eli? Is Eli a play too?
Yeah, you do. You stack him with Eli.
Let's see. According to this, quarterback-wise, Eli was owned at 6% on Thursday games, and
He's safe. I think he's got almost exactly 20 points in every game.
Odell is 10% owned.
yeah, Odell's 10% owned. So
That'll go up with the Julio news.
yeah, so having a combo of those two, where they're like relatively in the middle-ish of ownership, playing that can give you some good benefits, especially in turning play and cash play as well too. So
Yeah, I think I would also throw in Ruben Randall. He's gotten a touchdown in the last 2 games ever since they got rid of the straggler guy who was sort of dropping all the passes. So he's cheap and probably going to get a touchdown against the terrible 49ers.
Yep.
poor Niners.
All right. So San Francisco Giants -7 Giants. Who do you pick?
On the spread,
Yeah, on the spread.
I'm always going to be in favor of taking points. So I'm probably going to take the points.
Interesting.
I'll take the Giants.
Take the Giants too. I just want it so bad for them.
Earlier you said you wanted the 49ers to win, so what the hell?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said, okay, my bad. I want the 49ers. Take the points.
So indecisive you are.
I was thinking Nan said he wants
Now,
All right, let's move on.
no Niner for me.
my bad.
All right. And the very last game is Pittsburgh at San Diego. Pittsburgh at 2-2 against San Diego 2-2. Battle of 2-2s at San Diego. San Diego's -3 at 60% on them, according to covers.com.
Yeah, everybody here is going to be on Phillip Rivers and Keenan Allen, and is probably going to be the most owned stack, and probably for good reason. Phillip Rivers looks to Keenan Allen on a regular basis, and without Malcolm Floyd, without Stevie Johnson, and Gates, who could possibly just be running decoy routes. Yeah, but he's not on steroids anymore, so I don't know if I'm that interested in it.
Who knows?
So, yeah,
Supposedly not on steroids anyway.
yeah, supposedly not on steroids. So I think the most solid player on the Chargers this week is Keenan Allen, and he's actually one of the most solid players across the week. And let me actually. So last show I said that you were going to be top heavy and bottom heavy. I think that there's also a world where you take people like Eddie Lacy and Yeldon, and then you go Edelman, Keenan Allen, James Jones. So it's just like an average of about 7,000 over all your positions, and then you can still fit in like a Tom Brady. So that's the other strategy that you could go with in cash games.
What about Melvin Gordon?
What about him?
Do you play him?
It's unsafe.
In tournament style, no. Woodhead is too much of a vulture. They've been leaning towards Woodhead.
You mean in cash style?
In cash style, sorry.
So you play Woodhead?
No, because Melvin Gordon still exists. They're like splitting it way too much. It's like, to me, this situation is kind of like Hillman and Anderson, except Woodhead is a little bit more of a clear favorite right now.
I think in PPR, Woodhead's actually a play in both formats. I think he's getting over 10 every game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in full point PPR, he's probably somewhere more around 15.
Yeah.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers, even without Roethlisberger, can probably score on the Chargers. The Chargers' defense is not very good.
No.
The only scary thing in this game to me is that the over/under is like 45. It's like 45.
Yeah.
And for a game where the defenses are bad and the quarterbacks and the receiver, it's a gunslinger game, it seems a little low. I would expect more like 47.5 to 48. So maybe it's not going to go how we all think it will go, which makes me not want to have as much stake in this game.
It's a Monday night game, too.
It's a Monday night game. Steelers against the run. They're ranked about 12th against the run, and they've only allowed 1 rushing touchdown all season.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, to me, that's screaming just sit Melvin Gordon, right? And you don't play him in cash, you don't play him in tourney. Woodhead has some upside, so there is some value in taking him. But I would stay away from Melvin Gordon in this game because of that.
How do you feel about Gates?
Gates, I think, will... There's always a possibility he does this decoy crap, right? We've seen it in the past. But I do.
It's either decoy or 2 touchdowns. That's
yeah. So because Stevie Johnson's out, Rivers likes to throw in general. But if he's throwing in the middle of the field, it's most likely to Gates, and I feel like he will get his play. I think he's a good option here. I think he's also highly owned, which is my reason for not taking him in any leagues. I think he is he's the second highest owned tight end.
Yeah, I think people are drunk on the returning player logic because Le'Veon Bell came back and was immediately relevant. And people were like, "Whoa, well, Gates is always good, right?" And the answer is that he's really actually inconsistent. He's good and he's bad.
Yeah, I think better options for me would be the players below him. Charles Clay, I like Charles Clay. I like Brontellis Bennett, Owen Daniels. I'll even play, and even Kelsey, 5%.
For ownership, right?
Yeah,
not for price.
In terms of ownership, I'm going by ownership. So those make more appealing plays, and I think I don't have the prices with me, but I think they're relatively probably around the same price point.
I think this week Gates is going to be a top 5 tight end.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But to be the number 2, like in terms of ownership value, you want to say, I it's not worth it.
Yeah, there's no proof yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what it is. We need to see it in order to really see why he's worth the second-rate ownership and his price, right? So,
Do you guys like Le'Veon Bell here?
Do I ever?
Do I ever?
I love Le'Veon
I'm
Bell.
all in on Bell. I've been keeping my mouth shut, just waiting to say his name and talk to him.
Let's hear it. What you
I love
got?
it. San Diego's bad against the run statistically.
Yep.
They've allowed the second most points against running backs this season. Lots of touchdowns against running backs. Le'Veon Bell looks sick. Pittsburgh have Vic. It's not Ben anymore.
That's not an upside.
It makes him an upside, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think Vic is a team player. He's showing it. He's listening to the plays, and they're not expecting him to do running plays like he used to do. He either just hands the ball over or just steps back and throws it like the team wants him to do. And I think that makes Le'Veon Bell really important here, and I think it's a good matchup too. So I'm all in on Bell this week. Every DFS league right now has Le'Veon Bell in it, even though he's one of the highest owned, I think.
Yeah, and I heard a stat, probably 8 stats, which all support how bad the Chargers' defense is against running backs, both in running, receiving, yards after the catch, touchdowns allowed. They are bad against the running backs. And Le'Veon Bell is probably the most reliable up there with Jamal Charles in terms of running backs. So,
Yep.
He's
He is
good.
28% owned. Jamal Charles is 15% owned.
That's one of the main reasons that I pivot off into Jamal Charles is
Yeah.
that the ownership is just way too high for Le'Veon Bell. So get half that ownership for what I expect to be about the same production, or at least the same risk. I think you just go Jamal Charles, but both are good. I have exposure to both.
Yeah, the only drawback to Le'Veon Bell is actually the over-under line for this game, which you mentioned, right? 45 points. I thought it was going to be higher, too, and that makes me a little bit anxious. But I'm still pretty much all in on Bell this week.
In low total games, you actually favor the running back.
Oh, interesting.
And
That's a lot.
like I said with Jamal Charles in the last podcast, Le'Veon Bell is game script immune. They're losing, they're going with him. They're winning, they're going with him. And last week they actually lost the game because they put the game in Vic's hands too many times. And I remember I was sitting there screaming at the TV like, why are they not running with Le'Veon? Why are they trying to throw these fancy passes against Baltimore at the end of the game when they were going forward on 4th and 1 a couple times?
They also did a quarterback run. Like, they planned it and got negative yards.
Yeah. So
The best.
yeah.
They'll learn, right?
So I see them going heavy Le'Veon, no matter the game script, no matter the over/under. So that's what makes him so good.
Yeah. Another player that I really, really like, and I put in a lot of my lineups this week, is Antonio Brown.
You're the only one who's saying
I
that.
know.
I love him. How can you guys just discount this guy? He was like the highest valued player on FanDuel, right? And then yeah, he gets a downgrade because he lost Big Ben. But honestly, his last game, he had 9 targets, he had 5 completions, right? And he still got his yardage. Not as much as before Big Ben, but he did miss this big like 30-40 yarder from Michael Vick that he just dropped. He had it in the end zone and he dropped it. So if you put that back into his line, to his score, he's like he's like the highest valued player again. Like I am not going to just discount Michael Vick. I think Michael Vick showed that he still had an arm. He was still throwing okay. And Antonio Brown is a playmaker and he's getting his targets. I'm going to play him, and I'm just going to hope that he just blows up. And there's, he's going to give you a good floor, and he has a really, really high ceiling. So I really like Antonio Brown, and I'm playing him in a lot of my lineups this week.
I think it's a similar story with him as it is with Cobb, where there's low ownership for some reason, probably the previous week's performance, and you can get them in your lineup for a little bit of a discount at low ownership. He is still really expensive, so if you're playing him, you're not playing Julio Jones, and you're not playing Odell Beckham. So you're taking a risk, so I don't think he's a cash play. I think he's a tourney play with a lot of upside. I think the big reservation for me is that with Big Ben, he had this streak going of like 13, 14 games with over 7 receptions and over 100 yards. And then as soon as we switch quarterbacks, the first game back, that's gone.
Yeah.
I know you're saying in the theoretical world where he catches the one pass, but he didn't. So, I mean, I don't know.
To me, it's the play that's still there, right? He's still getting play. He's
still getting play. The targets are still there.
And to me, that's good. That's a good sign that he's still going to get his. They're still trying to target him deep. And that just means he has to make a play on it, and he will. We've seen him; he's amazing. So I'm okay taking this risk, and I'm putting him into both lineups. I would say, for me, I'm taking that risk, and I'm going to try to catch on everybody. So
A lot of upside. But in terms of like getting play, Vincent Jackson gets play just as much as he does, right? But you're right. Antonio Brown has a lot of upside, way more than Vincent Jackson. So it's a good tournament play, perhaps.
Yeah, I think especially now with the news that Martavis Bryant's not coming back, like, are they really just going to rely on Marcus Wheaton and Darius Hayward-Bay all game? Like, no, like.
Hayward-Bay.
So it's a good scenario. I like him a lot, and I'm going to do it.
Why don't you just go to Le'Veon, man?
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
You guys
Just
can't
go to
stop me.
Le'Veon, man.
You say it like you're walking off a plank, and I'm just like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Take him.
Fix you up later.
What else do we want to talk about? Gates, Gordon. Yep. I think that's all we really have. So yeah, I think that's it for our discussion for the 1 p.m. or not 1 p.m. The rest of the games, the evening games, and the Monday night game. We don't really have any questions. We don't really have a ton of viewers yet.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
For each of you, who is your favorite stack this week?
In these 5 games?
No, just in general.
Well, for me it's easy. Tom Brady, Gronk.
Oh, I was just gonna say Tom Brady, Gronk.
Wow, really,
Give me
Tom
the
Brady,
easy,
Gronk.
safe safe option, and I'm just
High
build a
over
team around
under.
that.
Good matchup. High over under. Yep. Brady Gronk.
Wow. All right.
Hey, you can't steal my answer,
You?
man. You gotta make a new one.
Oh wow! I have to make a new one, even though I
Yeah,
was
I mean,
thinking.
you could have said it, but it didn't come to your mind.
I did
So.
say I was thinking. All right. Give me 1 second. I have to come up with a new one.
All right, I'll do mine.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've been all over the Julio bandwagon, so I think Matt Ryan, Julio Jones is just too good. And you also have Hankerson. It sounds like Roddy White is probably going to get a little bit more love than we were expecting.
Roddy White is getting trade interest. Did you know that?
I saw that.
Yeah.
It says that it's most likely not going to happen, though, just because the contracts don't work right.
You're not gonna trade him away.
Why not?
This is like one of those things where he's like, if he does get traded away, he's just gonna come back with a vengeance for his team. It's like Andre Johnson.
We'll just
And
wait
then
for
you can
the
roster him for the
logic.
revenge game.
I'm waiting for that moment, guys. Come on.
So who's your stack, Ryan?
Julio, Matt Ryan, and I think a close second is Eli Odell, and I think the Eli Odell is probably less owned. So I'm a fan of the Eli Odell stack.
I have mine, a new one. I don't know if you guys are gonna like it, but it's with two of my homeboys, Sam Bradford and Jordan Matthews stack.
Um,
A high over under game. I trust Bradford at home.
you trust Bradford. Words never
At
spoken.
home,
Wow.
I trust him. He's been looking better. Like even in trash time, he just looks better.
Ugh.
Bradford, Jordan's.
That's your favorite stack.
Oh, Tom Brady Gronk was my favorite stack. This is my second favorite
Nah, I'm
stack.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. I stacked Bradford with Aguilar in a tournament, so
Yeah.
I'm not immune to the Sam Bradford hate.
Aguilar.
Aguilar!
Yep.
Give me a second, guys. Talk about something else. Talk
We
about
ain't
whatever
done.
you want.
Oh, I thought you said I need to come up with something to talk about something
no,
else.
just talk about something else. I'm setting up something real quick.
Are you setting up a
I'm setting
lineup?
up a FanDuel for us to try to do on stream.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, we're working in Julio. Sorry, boys.
Julio.
Not kidding. We don't have to. I actually, I've been constructing my lineups the way that I had described, where I wanted like high owned guy or high cost guys and then really cheap guys. And then, you guys convinced me yesterday that maybe Lacey's going to have a better game than I was expecting. And if you take a running back in that area and then you take someone like Yeldon after that, it leaves up so much space to do like a really solid yet stable lineup. And I don't think there's really much difference between Keenan Allen's potential and Julio's potential given the injury. So if you replace him, you gain like 2,000 in salary. And then you can take Edelman after that.
Take Gronk because of that,
Yeah, you can take Gronk. Like there's just so much. There's so much more room to play, and you don't have to depend on Willie Snead and James Jones, which is what I was doing with the previous setup. Now, I have both exist. I like James Jones a lot this weekend and Willie Snead, so it's not horrible, but probably more fitting for like a DraftKings where the guys are going to catch a lot but not necessarily get a lot of yards. On FanDuel, I think the other lineup is probably better, where the guys are completing more longer passes.
Okay, I got it working. So
Well, good.
I think the plan is we're going to try to make a lineup using all three of us. And we'll just, and maybe this is what we'll try to do at the end of every stream. We'll just make a lineup that we feel like could pay out. I chose the Sunday Million. This is all the games in terms of Sunday 1 p.m., noon, afternoon, night, and Monday night. So do you guys? So I guess we would try to go like maybe take turns and then choose a certain spot. But I think most importantly, I think when you're building a lineup is you want to start off with what you want to build around, right? So what are you guys feeling? Who do you guys want to build around? Want to throw out any suggestions or?
This is a tournament, right?
Yeah, this is a tourney. This is a 5 mil tourney for the Sunday Million.
All right, let's build around Lambo.
I was just gonna say
No, we're trying to win
Santos.
money, not give them money.
No,
right?
Hauschka.
Okay. Let me pull up
We're
the
doing
stream
the
so I
kicker
can see
last,
what you're
right?
doing.
Kicker
Yeah.
and defense last.
Okay, so I think
Yeah, I need to pull up.
for quarterback, maybe we could go expensive. Do you guys want to go expensive on the quarterback?
Expensive like Brady or expensive like Rodgers?
Expensive like Rodgers. He's probably like insanely low owned, and we could stack him with Cobb, another low owned
Yeah.
guy.
So, to me, this is a big tourney, right? You're going against 230,000 people. For me, when I go in these sort of tourneys, I like to go with very low percentage owned players because if you go with a ton of high percentage owned players, your chance to make money is so slim because there's so many combinations out there that have your exact lineup but better, right? So I usually like to go for very low percentage owned players. You guys feel the same way about these big tourneys, or?
Yeah, so like Kaepernick.
We could go Kaepernick. We could go Tyrod Taylor.
I
We
mean,
could
I
go.
want low owned, not low performing guys. All right.
Wow.
It was a shot at Kaepernick.
Okay,
Um,
so maybe Peyton.
I mean, is that your strategy too, guys, or is that a weird strategy you guys don't like?
I think the strategy is that you have to own some high owned guys,
You
and you
do.
have to find some low owned guys.
Yeah.
You can't just be
No.
a mishmash of 1% and hope for the best. You have to
No,
have
no, no.
some
That's not my
some
point.
20% owned.
My point is, in a league like this, right? If you're going off percentages owned, Tom Brady is the highest at 25.5%,
yeah.
right? So more than likely, I am not going to play him because I have to compete with 1 out of 4 for of everyone else that has the exact same Tom Brady in there. Um, if he does go off, right? Philip Rivers is 10% owned. Matt Ryan is 9% owned. Then Aaron Rodgers is 7% owned. To
Yeah.
me, that's 7%. I like Aaron Rodgers here, and then it goes on to Eli at 6% owned, Tyrod Taylor at 5% owned, Alex Smith 4, Carson Palmer 4, Peyton Manning you mentioned he's only 3.7%. He's worthy of a look at only 4%, but he
Brady.
has a high floor or high ceiling. Blake Bortles 3, Marcus Mariota 2, Sam Bradford 2. So your logic for a Sam Bradford stack here is good in the sense that only 2% of people play him. Then you have to worry about everyone else past that.
Right. I think in the quarterback category, in terms of like fantasy point differential and what they're going to get, I think like I don't think there has been too many weeks where I've taken a tier one quarterback like Tom Brady, Rivers, Rodgers, Manning, questionably tier ones, but I think those are tier ones. I usually go for like the tier twos, like I take a risk on Jameis Winston because he can potentially get me the 30 points that I need. Bradford, and even like Carson Palmer is a solid play, but he's
Yeah.
also 2-1. This week I might go with Rivers Keenan Allen stack. Like I really like that stack too.
Are you
And
liking that stack too, Ryan or Oven Mitts?
I mean, I like the stack, but like I said, it's probably the most owned stack.
stack, right?
Yeah, is it 10%, and then Keenan Allen is at 12%, and he's like the seventh highest owned.
Yeah.
Right, and I have to assume that most of the Philip Rivers
Are
owners
playing
are
those
going to
stacks.
have Keenan Allen. So I like the stack in theory, but not in a big tournament because then I'm just differentiating myself with other parts of my lineup,
All right.
which we can do. I mean, we can make that the stack and then pick other guys. But I feel like the low cost guys that we're going with are going to be fairly public.
Mm.
So in one of my leagues, I had a Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb stack, only because I saw that Randall Cobb was only 5% owned, and I liked that potential there.
And
So I
Rodgers
stacked those two, and
7%.
Rodgers was about
7%.
yeah fourth owned. So I liked sort of like those numbers, right? Um, so are you
Another
guys,
interesting one would be AJ Green with Andy Dalton.
yes,
Because that's like low owned, low owned. That's even less
Really
owned
low owned.
than
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers. I did that.
They're playing against Seattle, and I think that's why.
Yeah, the Seattle sort of scares me off too.
Right.
Right, but it seems like for some reason against defenses we don't expect AJ Green to do well. He does well, and then in games where we expect him to do well, he doesn't do well. So I'm writing some stupid logic that I invented myself because the low ownership is just too appealing
Yeah.
for both guys.
I like that. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
Let's do it.
All right. Oh snap! I was like, when I was browsing, you guys can see all the numbers on there. So that
Yeah,
works.
you were reading them off on stream as
I
we were
did.
looking at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops. All right. So we've committed to a Andy Dalton and a AJ Green.
All
All
right.
right.
All right, well,
What
I've done
is-
my part.
Wow.
So where do you guys usually go from here? What do you guys want to do now? Do you like to fill in your running backs first?
Yeah, we gotta get one RB1 before we start doing stuff.
RB1.
Yes.
All right.
Are we going expensive or are we going medium? Are we going Forte and Lacey, or are we
Let's go
going Jamal Charles?
Le'Veon.
You want to go Le'Veon?
No,
What
he's just too much
opportunity?
owned for tournament play though. He's 30% owned pretty
So
much.
are we rolling with a Devontae Freeman logic?
For a tournament, I don't see why not.
You guys don't want the 3
1%.
touchdowns? You don't want that automatic 3 touchdowns?
41% owned.
How about,
Yeah.
can we get some
Bet.
Forsett?
Yeah.
How do we feel about Forsett?
I like it. I was just gonna say it too.
Which that's okay.
Let's do it.
All right, Forsyth.
The news makes him a little bit more appealing to me. I like Forsett.
All right.
We're also all on Eddie Lacy now, so maybe we want some Eddie Lacy? He's pretty low
I
owned.
like Dougie too.
Dougie.
Eddie
I don't
Lacy's
think we're
not
going to get
good.
Nani on board with Dougie.
No.
Or you guys like Carlos Hyde? Come on.
No.
You guys want to do it?
We already made one stupid decision playing AJ Green. Let's.
Let's make this a reasonable lineup.
Yeah.
So you guys are saying Eddie Lacy?
So we want Eddie Lacy or do we want Forsett?
I like
Oh. It's
You like
one or the
Forsett?
other?
Let's see. Like 1-2.
Oh, you like them both?
Yeah.
I like them both too.
That works for me.
We're gonna have like no cap, huh?
We can spend about 6.
I actually set up lineup like this, and I had like 4,000 when I was done. I was like, oh my god, I have so much money.
All right. So now we need receivers, tight end, kicker, and defense.
All right. So let's go to receivers then.
Yeah. I'm on it.
Oh wait, actually, can we do tight end? Then we sort of dictates what kind of receiver we're going for.
Sure.
Like Gronk or anyone else.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing Gronk. Just the money isn't going to work out. Do you guys think? It says our average cost of player is 6,000 right now. If we put Gronk,
If we
it's
put
gonna
Gronk
go down
in,
like
it's
3.
5K. We're gonna have to get some WR3s and 4s.
Yeah, let's not do Gronk. So we all like Clay. We all like Martellus. We all like Carrier. Daniels. We all like Daniels.
Carrier's a tournament play. I like that.
I like Martellus a lot right now.
Me too.
Yeah, because of all the other receiver news.
So you guys want to roll Martellus? Is Gates
Sure.
an option or no?
He is, but for me, he's not.
He's not. Okay.
I think it's just so highly owned. 13.6%.
So is Bennett. Like Bennett, only thing against him is that he's 10% owned, like 4th highest.
Yeah.
But I like the news. So we're banking on Bennett to have like a 30-point game or like 25-point game though.
I think for a tight end, even a 15-point game is decent.
Right, that's true too.
honestly. So, all right. So we're committing to Martellus Bennett for now.
Yeah.
All right. Receivers.
Hold on, I'm waiting for the thing to load back up.
You guys don't want to fill in your kicker and defense first?
No.
Kamar Aiken, boys. Kamar Aiken.
We need some quality kickers in this league. They win you leagues, man.
They do. If you didn't have Santos, you don't win that week.
It's true.
And Guskowski, that second week or something.
Okay, so who's our second receiver? I know we all like Macklin, but Macklin's like super public.
Aiken?
He'd be the third receiver.
We can't afford one of these top 3, right?
No.
No way.
If we do, we have 5K to spend. We can spend on a top tier.
If we're doing it, who are we going for? Antonio Brown and Demarius just because of lower owned or what?
Antonio? Is that what you're wanting now? Me?
He just stuck him in there, I think.
Wow, really?
No, I was just clicking around.
Wow.
Sure,
just
sure.
I was
have the three
subconsciously
doesn't
wanting
mean-
to add him. I just
Whose
randomly
lineup
clicked.
is this? Not ours.
Get Antonio Brown out of there.
I mean, we
I
can,
think because we have AJ Green, it's going to be really hard to put.
yeah. Julio's gonna be hard to put in because
Can we do? What about Cobb? I mean, we were feeling Cobb.
Cobbin is possible.
What's percent owned on him? Let's see.
Just 4 point something, 4.9.
That was low. Yeah. I like Cobb.
No, I just stuck Julio in. Yeah, okay.
Mm,
All right. Do we have
Cobb.
cash if we do Cobb? And then we have to
James
do our
Jones is
defense
higher
kicker.
owned than Cobb.
All right, let's do the defense and kicker.
Wait, we have one more slot. We have one more receiver. Or you're just trying to see how much we can spend?
Yeah.
Sure. All right, kicker.
There's no weather issues, so
I stay away
anybody's a
from
fair
Cairo
play.
this week just because he's probably highly owned. Nope. This site doesn't care about kickers.
No,
So.
it doesn't have that.
I'm not going to debate over a kicker. Just pick one.
I mean, I'm not gonna spend a
Let's
lot
do
on a
that after
kicker.
the defense then, and the WR3.
All right, defense.
Defense. Do we like the Tennessee Titans here?
YOLO.
YOLO.
Tennessee
I
Titans
don't like it,
against
but I think it's
Buffalo.
a good risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Well, that or Giants. I think we're pretty cheap, right?
All right. That's right.
So, but let's go
What
with
about the Jags,
Titans, they're cheaper.
boys?
No.
Yeah, Giants with 4,300, which is one that I like, but it's fine. So now we have 11,500 left.
For kicker and WR.
For, yep, kicker and WR.
Okay, just add Lambo and see what we can get.
Lambo.
Because he's like cheap.
Mercy.
We
Yeah.
like Lambo. The three of us as friends like Lambo, just because of his name. Just
Mercy.
listen
Because it
to
makes
this.
us think we're going to win a Lamborghini if we play him.
We should do this in the Porsche League. I should put him in the Porsche League. Porsche free roll.
But he also is a good kicker on a good team that can move
Yeah.
the ball down the field. So
Yeah, I think he's just low cost because he's a rookie.
Yeah.
All right, so how much cash we got left?
we have 7,000 left.
Interesting.
That's a lot.
Can we get...
You are?
The best we can get is Jeremy Macklin.
Okay.
We can get Cooks, which I think you'd rather have Macklin.
You think?
Yeah, you can get Vincent Jackson. I'm not too sold on that.
Nope.
Jordan Matthews is
I'm okay
okay.
with Jordan Matthews.
Yeah, I like Jordan Matthews.
Steve
I think
Smith,
Jordan Matthews
no.
might end up being public this week, though. Just because it's a
Yeah.
good price.
Golden
Yeah.
Tate is a no. He's not getting the play that he should get. Watkins is out. James Jones is way too highly owned for his.
Plus, we
price
already have
range.
Cobb.
Yeah.
You guys just
Yeah.
want to put Macklin in and accept the fact that he's public?
I like
Is he
that
that
because
much public?
He's 20%.
21%.
Wow, he is really public. Holy crap.
Okay, so one problem I have with this lineup is that we have the running back and the receiver of the Green Bay Packers. Is that going to be an issue or no?
At Lambeau? Not
Just
really.
in general, is it a good idea to do that?
It's only a good idea if it's a high offense like the Green Bay Packers, especially at home too. So it's even their high offense at home. They want to all do the Lambeau leap, so it's not. I don't think it's too far fetched. But if you told
Yeah.
me you wanted to do it for the Browns, I'd be like, get out of here. You know, like no one
Dude, I
wants
hope
to
the, I hope
stack.
Kroll, the
No one wants
Kroll
to
Travis
stack
Benjamin stack.
Kroll, yeah, with Benjamin or Barnage. All right, get out of here.
What's wrong with Kroll?
I think in tournaments you actually have you can do stuff like this. In cash games it's not a good idea, but in tournaments it's okay. And we saw that with Devontae Freeman and Julio Jones. Somebody did that 2 weeks ago, and it provided 30 points from each position, over 30 points from each positions.
I made fun of the whole stack of Browns, but I think 2 weeks ago, Benjamin and Barnage was a good stack.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Was that against the Raiders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, we have a lot of options here.
No, I like it. I think Macklin's good.
Macklin's good. I'm a little scared just because of the high ownership. That's my hesitance. You guys don't like Allen Robinson, Travis
I do.
Benjamin.
Burns.
What about Pierre Garçon? Pierre Garçon could
be good.
good.
He could be good.
Yeah, he could be good.
He's got a touchdown in most games, right?
Yeah, without Deshaun Jackson in, Garcon puts up pretty impressive numbers.
I'm okay with that. I like that.
It's a little bit more against the public, right?
Yeah.
A lot more against the public than Macklin.
Yeah, and then I think after that we start getting into a lot of the WR2s. So this is I think this is a pretty solid team. A little bit mix of low ownership with good potential, high floor, right? Or high ceilings. Relatively decent floors. Are you guys happy with something like this?
I like it.
Score?
Only thing I'm like really hesitant on is Cobb. I think James Jones is pretty good. Montgomery's there.
All right, if we take out Cobb, we can afford Odell Beckham. Do you guys prefer that?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. We can also put in one of the other two loaded. Like we haven't Demarius, for a tournament, maybe. He's probably way less owned.
Yeah, Demarius is 5.7%.
So I mean, we're already in with AJ Green. At least with Demarius, it's a good matchup.
So you guys want Demarius instead?
Demarius, Odell Beckham is 10%.
I think Odell will probably be more around 16, 17 by today.
It's true.
I'm okay with both. I'm open to if you guys veto it and would rather play Odell.
All right.
Is that an all right? Let's veto it and play Odell.
Yeah, I like Odell.
Okay. Nani? Did he just get disconnected from us?
No, he's still here. He's mute. His
What's
mouth is
going
moving on
on?
stream. The stream's not even sending off his voice either.
But is it sending us?
He's saying hello with his mouth.
Oh.
No, still can't hear you.
Wow, you're right. His voice isn't talking. Oh my gosh. All right, well.
Stream's
that's
over,
all we got.
guys. Rip.
Yeah, the stream is over. So if you like this content, follow us on Twitter at FantasyLabrats. You can email questions to us at FantasyLabrats@gmail.com.